Joining us, we got Axel up there in the top left.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
I'm not in this. I don't have anything prepared, so like I'm not prepared to talk.
I thought you were.
Talk. It's me.
That's Colleen.
Well,
she's not in this. We got
Yeah,
Jessica Figueroa, our editor-in-chief.
Whatever.
Hello.
We got Nicholas Cicero, Nathan Hartman,
Hello.
Eric Morton.
Good evening.
So our discussion was, I forget what ride I was on, but it was an older attraction. I'm like, you know, that effect is still good after all these years. And then I thought about it, I was like, well, what other ride effects like don't need to be touched? They don't need to be updated. Like they still wow people even after several years of being in existence. And so I wanted to hear everybody's ideas on this. Jessica, ladies first. Why don't you start us off?
Why me?
What?
Why me?
Oh, how bad is it?
It's pretty bad. Everyone's gonna make fun of me for it.
Is she really low or is it just me?
I can't hear it at all.
Am I low?
Yeah.
Do I need
You're a little
to be
low.
less? Is that better?
No.
Hello?
Get near the mic.
Here, try now.
Is this better?
Yes, you're good
Yeah.
now. So what ride effect? What terrible ride effect that no one's going to agree with do you think is still?
I don't think people won't agree with me. I just think they're gonna be like, "Are you that stupid?"
Oh, boy.
Which I am.
No, that's Park
the
Center.
answer.
Park Center says that about us.
Oh, only if you
Go
tell me,
off,
Tom.
Jill. So last time, Pat, you guys remember back when the parks were open? Yeah.
Too soon.
Kinda.
So I was in the parks a few weekends ago when Runaway Railway opened, and for some reason, something was telling me, like, ride all of your favorites. You might not be able to ride them again. I had, like, an internal instinct. So
Wow.
I wrote, and there was no... and there was no line for Figment, so naturally I wrote it, like, 2 or 3
Ride your
times.
favorites, you said.
Oh boy.
Be
It's
kind.
not, it's like a, you know, I love trashy stuff. I managed to vote Cosmic Ray to win March Madness.
You work here.
I'm
Yeah, we know.
here. I work for the site. I love. Anyway,
Site known for its backstage photography. Yes, go ahead.
This poor guy's phone is blowing up. So I went on Figment, and
I don't
for
even
some
want to know
reason,
what you're going to pick out of this ride.
I've never noticed this, but when you go into like the imagination room and the butterfly disappears, yeah, that's my.
Wow.
Oh, that's still good.
The disappear
It's a
butterfly.
magic
I'm
trick, but
sorry.
it's still
I'm
good.
so grown.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do they do it? It disappeared. Where is it? And that, you know, that's like, oh, so like,
Okay.
I don't know, I think it's very whimsical and cute. Imagine being a kid and seeing that. I know
Yeah.
the ride is garbage. I love it anyway, but I think that's really cute. It's a cute, you know, I
At
love
least she
physical
didn't say-
gags like that.
Well,
What?
at least she didn't say the fart smell. I mean, come on. So we're good. We're
I'm
good.
going
I'll
to
take the
blow your
butterfly.
mind.
I think it's
jeez.
it's a very bad fart smell. Like I want it to actually smell bad.
Is there a
bad.
good fart smell?
I've smelled worse people in the park than that scene.
Wow. I'm going to
That's
blow your
true.
mind. I'm going to tell you how they make the butterfly disappear. Are you ready?
Don't
No,
do it. Don't
no.
ruin it for me.
Is he serious? He really doesn't want to know?
I'm muting. I'm leaving.
I'm going to
Bye.
tell the people at home. So, what do I got here? So there's a mirror. The mirror is right down the middle of the cage. So if you put, like, let's say this is half of a butterfly. If you put the half of the butterfly up against the mirror, if you're on this side over here, you're going to see a full butterfly. And then obviously when you get to the mirror divider, you're going to lose the butterfly.
But you look on the other side and it's still not there. Like.
Because this side doesn't have anything there. You're looking at half a butterfly glued to a mirror, and so it's right down the middle of the butterfly, so the reflection is an identical half.
Which is why it's a good effect, because it's
not.
so
It's
simple.
like children's
It's a
toys from the
great effect.
70s did it.
Oh, it still
Well,
still works though.
In my day, we didn't have such
But-
things.
Is
So
Is it even
But
an
how did-
effect? Can we consider it an effect?
Oh, for sure. It's an old
How-
edition's trick.
I love dumb.
But how did they do the
and
fart smell?
Physical, like magic
Can you
tricks.
explain that?
Oh,
What did Nick say?
man.
You can buy that.
Tom gets
it's,
like a Malibu and cherry diet Dr. Pepper and Malibu in him, and he's ruining the magic for everybody who's dazzled by that effect.
drinking his favorite cocktail, the Unscrupulous, and he's just
There's
losing
a guy
it.
in the Mickey suit.
No.
Anyway,
I'm leaving. I didn't sign up for this.
you didn't sign up for anything.
No.
Axel. Good.
All right, so for me, I gave this a lot of thought because I wanted to go for the Yeti, but then I thought like maybe I shouldn't go stroke.
Oh man.
But like for me, and that is for every park, the ballroom in the Haunted Mansion, Phantom Manor, no matter where it is, it's something so old for us, so obvious,
Yeah.
but it's still so amazing. That's one of my favorites, and I won't change it. But that's for everything in Haunted Mansion. Like, especially at the end, nobody thinks about it. Your face is being ripped off and thrown to the other one. Like, everybody's like, what's happening? How is this happening? And this is difficult because if you go to the parks a lot, of course, you're going to be at some point, you're going to be evacuated, lights are going to be on, whatever. And then you're going to be like, okay, that's obvious now. But I think I'm still amazed by those effects.
If you went during that like 2-week period before the parks closed, then you got to see that every day with the lights on. So, yeah. Nathan?
Yeah.
I'm gonna start with I think my favorite and go from there. And this is just ones I thought of. This is a tough one because you have to like sort of think objectively, and it can't be too new. Because I could name like 1,000 things in Rise, which I find very interesting, but those are all super new. I think in Tower, the use of fiber optics is really, really impressive. And both how stars show up inside of where you're at, like inside of your vehicle. But my favorite part is when you're going down and you're about to hit the door and all of the separate stars start going boop, 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 and everything comes together into a really close thing and splits and then goes to the door and then opens. And that's just little lights, but the way the music and everything swells when it's sort of doing it, it's very impressive. And it always sort of like does that to me because it's sort of this entire room sucking into itself to go to a single line. And I think that's just a really impressive effect.
Nick?
So mine is actually a more recent effect, and the reason I like it is it's effective because of the way it affects the audience, and it emotionally affects the audience. And I'm actually going with the bugs in your seat effect in Tough to Be a Bug.
That's a good one.
Because
That's a great
it is such a
effect.
good effect. Yeah, and it works. I mean, it scares the heck out of people. And my favorite part of the attraction is waiting for that and watching everybody's reaction to it.
Same.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Can't be beat. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
for sure.
I always look out for people who might be like first
I always sit behind older
Yeah.
women. I look for older women. Nick, I know
Find
this is
your
a foreign
Cuban mom.
concept to you, but I look for older women in the crowd and
What?
I sit behind them. I always find that their reactions are the best.
Someone in the comments is saying that effect traumatized me for life.
What was that?
Oh, it does.
Someone's traumatized apparently.
Yeah.
I love it. I think
Love
it's
it.
very fun. It's very whimsical.
I mean,
Whimsical.
even the seat behind you,
Yeah.
that doing it as well, which
All the
I always sort
spiders
of go
coming
up.
down from the ceiling, the
Yeah.
big spray and the fog that blinds. That show is vastly underrated. I think it gets an unfair rap. I think it's a very good 3D show.
Yeah, and you're like, why is the seat kind of tacky? Why is it this silicone,
Yeah.
surface? And then you're
Because
like,
people
oh
wear
right,
ponchos
there's little
inside.
ridges.
That too.
Eric.
Nathan actually took one of them I was going to mention, the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. I love that effect. So good choice. But a few weeks ago, we were originally going to be doing just another one off the top of my head. We were originally going to be doing attractions for our March Madness, and Colleen's like, "Make sure you've done every attraction. Have you done everything?" I was like, "The only attraction I have not done is Voyage of the Little Mermaid," and first of all, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So it's so dated. They skip like 3/4 of the story. Like she's like, "Oh, hey, Ursula, I have legs," and then next thing you know, the very next thing is Eric kills Ursula. So it's like,
No, you
oh, we
forgot
kinda
the
missed
whole 5
thing.
minutes of the puppet just doing this.
Yeah.
Just continuously the same hand motion over and over.
But in this age of like projection mapping and 2.5D and all this stuff, I'm still, maybe it's the old school Epcot of me, I'm still a sucker for the laser effects, right?
Yeah.
So when they have the lasers kind of going across the top of the theater and making the waves and everything, like
Make the
it just brings you
logo.
back.
They make fish.
Yeah, they make the logo. I like the old school laser effects.
Yeah.
And look, they're not going to be around much longer. So if you get a chance, if that ride is ever open again, and you go in, check it out, because there's not a whole lot of places you can see those old school like 80s lasers anymore.
Voyage is one of those things you should see just to say you've seen it. I think it's a wacky
I
thing.
like the black light puppet
Yeah.
scene. I think that's
Oh yeah,
neat.
that is a good
The
effect.
performers are always good. The vocalists are good. It has its moments. It was a really cool show when it opened, and it's worth seeing, I think. I have a couple. I'm going to start. Which one do I want to go with? I'm going to go one of my favorites. Whenever this is broken, it makes me very sad. But I still think one of the coolest wow moments I ever had was the first time I rode Countdown to Extinction, now Dinosaur, the running Carnotaur. Like that thing coming towards the, like this and coming way out towards the car, and then you have the audio where it sounds like it's on top of the car, like chasing you. Oh man, and it makes people freak out. I love that running Carnotaur, man. That's still
so
one of my
good.
favorite animatronics. I think it's just such a cool effect, and it's so complicated, which is why it always breaks, but so cool. And I'll
And
start.
that's another one that elicits a lot of response from guests,
Yeah.
which makes it even more
There's a dinosaur
interesting
chasing
because everybody's responding to it, and it's fantastic.
That's why I wasn't amazed when Jurassic Park opened, because I had already seen a Carnotaur chase after a car, like a T-Rex with a weird like curtain neck coming out of the wall wasn't going to impress me, you know?
Yeah.
Someone in the chat just brought up the Cinemagique door.
Cinemagique door is a good one too, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
My next one, the American Adventure sets. I think when I was younger, I assumed that somehow they had crammed them all in this tiny space of the stage, and that just all these things are raising and lowering, and I thought that was cool enough. And then I don't remember if it was like a Travel Channel special or what it is, where they show you that it's actually this giant train, and it pushes scene by scene. Just it pops up, goes down the next scene, and the whole thing is so long that it just goes under the seats. So it
Yeah.
just keeps going until you reach the end of the show, and the last thing comes up, and then the whole thing resets again for the next show. I think it's the most mind-blowing thing they've
Yeah.
ever done. How that doesn't consistently break, how they've never had problems with that, is such a great achievement in the history
Yeah.
of WDI. Whoever
Yeah, that's
figured
a
that
great-
out, and in a way that it has been consistent and is
Mm-hmm.
never really a problem for them, is insane.
And probably will never be replicated.
No,
Probably will never get
they'll never
replicated.
try it again, even though it worked. I
No.
mean, but what a
Fantastic.
cool idea to put it under. It starts behind the stage and then works its way basically under you in the theater. It's just crazy.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I assumed that obviously.
yeah. I mean,
I think
a
they
couple
also
things dropped
take
from
you-
the ceiling, but not much. But yeah, that
Do they take you there for the
Should
tour
Colleen
as
be on
well?
the show?
they do. When we did Backstage Magic, we got to see it, and that was insane. That was worth
Yeah.
the price of the tour alone. Very
Colleen didn't want to be on the show, Fig. There's nothing I can do
Colleen,
about it.
just be on the show.
I didn't prepare, which is why I was like, let me know.
She's very red.
Not that
She's
bad.
very red right now. Okay,
I
okay,
would
it's fine. I
pick
just
Pepper's
keep hearing you
Ghost,
talk,
which
so I'm like,
is
come on the
the
show.
Haunted Mansion effect.
No.
I love that. But also, I have a weird background in that I come from theater, so God, now so almost anything
You're
I
doing
write
great.
it, know how it works, or I write it and my husband knows how it works.
Aren't you special?
So it's everything is cool, but I don't know. I didn't have anything came to me that it was like, oh my God, that's really impressive, because I don't usually see something that then I'm like, I have no idea how that happened. I was never fun at magic shows.
You're doing honorable mention.
Or in general.
So mean.
I could
She's
poison
mean
you.
to me all the
I could
time.
poison you so
That's okay.
Come
though.
on.
We're mean to each other
Did
all
did
day.
It's the only way
did
to be
everyone
cool.
do one? I have another one.
Yeah, go ahead. I started the
can we
second
go
round.
do
That was the
another
beginning of the second.
round?
Let's do
Yeah.
one quick second go around. Quickly mention whatever you got
I need
left.
to vent.
I had two. I had Enchanted Tales with Belle, that mirror. The,
mirror,
first
yeah.
time I saw it, I was just like, oh my
That's the best one in
god.
the park.
Yeah, I don't know who's messing with my stuff.
As,
Colleen
like,
doesn't
a
want to be
fun
on. Stop
fact,
messing.
if you ever go to like
go
the
ahead.
Scab Museum, they have a version of that. That's it.
Well, don't ruin it for me. And then the other one is Muppet Vision's Explosion. I find that whole I know it's just scrims and some lighting, but boy howdy does it work every time. And the arrows that come out like when you're not looking, so they're sticking out of stuff when you go by, when you leave. I mean, it's just so impressive.
Axel?
Those are my two.
I had three. Well, I'm going to do like two really quick. Two of those are waiting lines because I still think that the waiting line for Mansions is amazing, and the Peter Pan one as well. I mean, for kids, it's just like, wow, it's so cool. And then the third one, as somebody already mentioned in the chat, is Cinémagique. And I really hadn't think about it like first place because you had been watching it on YouTube because unfortunately you did not see it in person. The door is cool, but the sword that just flies through the screen and then pops up the out of the stage, but it's so fast that you don't see it.
Yeah.
That was an amazing effect. And then I have to say, like, in the very beginning, it was better. It was nicer. At the end, you really could see the door slide in and slide out. That was not that great because you could see it, but still, the effect, I loved it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can I add one more really quick that I totally forgot about? I had an interview with Brandon Kai. I always get his name wrong. Kai Leah, Trader Brandon, recently, and we talked about him doing. He did some props and stuff inside of Pandora's lab for Flight of Passage. And one of the things I always love about that lab is all of the metal, the magnet stuff. It's just sort of sciencey stuff. It's not necessarily like, you can go to a science lab and see that kind of thing, but they use it in such unique ways inside that lab that they're just practical effects, but they serve this alien-like purpose because they change color, dyes of things, and they play with it in a different way. And I just find that to be a really special something. So I just thought about that.
Jessica, do you have something that's not just a mirror?
Yes. I have a duck butt.
Oh, geez.
Duck butt.
So, tell me the
Love
duck
duck
butt did not leave an imprint in your child. Like for me, Filler Magic, I know. I mean, I think it's aged pretty well. It's still a great, sweet show. But I remember being there when it first opened and just rolling on that carpet for 2 hours waiting to go into that theater. And at the end, no matter how maybe dated the glasses or the 3D might feel, especially since they haven't updated the projection, it's so super grainy. At the end, when you see that duck butt flying across, and then you just see him, and the smoke comes out, and he's just waddling there. I think it's a really sweet effect, and even again, people who are seeing it for the first time, they're like, "Oh my God, there's Donald!" And he's real, he's here. Also, the only effect that inspired a pair of ears.
It's my favorite story. My favorite in-person story that I ever experienced was Duck Butt Happened. I was sitting next to like a 6-year-old maybe.
Duck Butt Happened.
The person, like the kid, like took his glasses off and turned to his mom like this and went, "It's real. It's all real." It was the coolest thing. It was such a magical little moment. So yeah, Fig, for sure, Duck Butt.
Nick?
Duck Butt.
So yeah, I'm trying to think of the fly because Nathan and Jessica stole the ones I was thinking. I was totally thinking Duck Butt and Muppet Vision. So I guess I'll toss out there. Let's toss out there Space Mountain. The fact that they can make you feel like, because of everything that they do with the lights off and the way they built that coaster, the way they make you feel like you're going extremely fast when you're really going pretty darn slow. And I know we had a whole Back to the Future on that, but I'm still always fascinated by that because you really do feel like you're zooming around space. And you're going like, what did we say, like 25 miles an hour or something like that? It's not that fast. So yeah, let me throw that one into contention here.
Eric?
So this isn't really an illusion, but just something that sticks with me is from Illuminations. I love the beginning of Illuminations when he says, "We hope you enjoy our story tonight. Reflections of Earth." And he goes, "Whew," and all the lights go up and everyone just, it gets everybody's attention with silence. I think it's just really a cool effect.
It's so good.
But yeah, it's so good. And I'm sad that we won't see it again. But in terms of a ride, I one that stood the test of time is just like on Big Thunder when things are like shaking. I don't know. I kind of like that.
I have been reminded what is the effect that inspired me to come up with this segment. The Seas with Nemo and Friends. The final few windows where it appears as if the characters are in the tank.
Oh. Yeah.
Which I still, every time I'm like, that is unbelievable. Like that's 14 years ago. And that's still amazing. I still haven't seen anyone do that anywhere else, where they look like they're out there. They're not just like at the front. They look like they're out there in the tank somewhere. I think that's incredible. And the submarine voyage never reaches that at Disneyland. There's never that moment where it really looks like they're actually out there. But that moment in that big tank with the real fish, I think is really incredible. Real quick, 2 other ones. Indiana Jones, we talked about a couple weeks ago. The Mara Room, the fact that can be 3 different scenes, essentially, I think is ingenious. And then one I still love, it's not from that long ago, but long enough ago, the backwards driving Mater on Radiator Springs Racers that follows your car as he drives backwards. And then, like, the first one vanishes, and Mater's still talking to you, but then a second one pops out the back of the bush and is still backwards driving. And on top of that, it's a great figure beyond that. Those are my faves. Anyone else? Any quick ones?
What about Catastrophe Canyon?
Oh, yeah.
I always loved Catastrophe Canyon. That was a lot of fun.
That was a good one. The fact that it could reset.
Well, you should go to Disneyland Paris.
Now it's Route 66.
You're going to see Mac burning up. Really good.
Thankfully, this pandemic has spared us from having to see what that's going to be.
You're going to be spared from a lot of things in Disneyland Paris.
Get it spared?
Can we talk? Can we talk about the Peter Pan queue, the interactive queue?
I mean, Axel did, but the Tinkerbell stuff is super cute.
The Tinkerbell. I remember going, like, this was right before I started getting back into Disney after, like, a hiatus when I was, like, in high school or middle school or whatever. I remember it was, like, 2015, and I was there, and I was like, what? Like, I hadn't read about it. I hadn't, like, actually been, like, informing myself yet. So I, like, walk in completely. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go on Peter Pan. I'm like, what is this? I think I brought my parents with me because that's, like, the only ride they do, remember, because they're old and all that. And they were equally, like, and these are, like, older people, and they were just equally as astounded. It was, like, everything was, we want to talk about whimsical. It's all whimsical. It's so well done between the portraits and then talking about effects. that wall where you're like interacting with Tinkerbell, and like you can like ring the little bells or whatever interactive game pops up when you pass by there. Like whenever it's an empty queue, I'm almost like mad because I want to like actually be stuck there for a few minutes playing.
Well, it's not
and
often
like seeing
empty,
her hop.
so.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know. I've been there a few times, and I'm like, I don't want to.
The best effect in that queue, the old bathroom tile. It's the best effect in there. All right, we gotta wrap up. We still got a whole game show to play, but thank you everybody. When we come.